Good morning, everybody. So I thought I would make a video, since I don't have to go until 3:30. Of course, that also means that I don't get home until 7:30, but that's okay. There are pros and cons to both getting to work early in the morning and getting to work later in the afternoon. So I'm not gonna complain. I mean, I used to give my friend Terry a hard time about it because of course, it was more about the fact that on her off days she would sleep in until noon, and even I, as tired as I am, I still manage to get up at least the latest I'll get up is like 10. And because I feel like if you get up super late, then you're wasting the day away. Because your morning's already gone. You only have like the afternoon session, which is only a few hours, and then the evening, and then you have to get up the next morning to go to work. So, but I mean, I understand the whole appeal of her liking to sleep in on days that she's off. So, and I think I understand even more now since I'm working. But I've always been like someone who gets up. I mean, even during school, I never did the whole putting my alarm clock on snooze or throwing it across the room. I mean, it still annoyed the crap out of me, and to this day, I can't stand a sound that sounds like an alarm clock. But I always got up on time. So, but anyway, I decided to go ahead and make a video since I don't have to go in until later. And I'm making my September wrap up and my possible October TBR, because like a lot of people, I don't always stick to. I'm part of the group part of the group of readers that has trouble sticking to the TBR sometimes. I mean, sometimes I can, like, I start off good, but then it goes a little bad. I mean, it's not even that I end up deciding that I want to read the book that's not on my TBR, that I didn't put on my TBR before. It's more like I don't finish it. Which is what happened this month. I read 6 books, and I decided to go along with the whole theme of sequel September, and also I was reading books that were like school reads, read books that you would read in school or were about schools. That I did a little bit better on. But the other one, I only read 1 sequel. So, and then some of them were library books, which is that's part of my problem, because now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, it's my only excuse that I have basically been utilizing my library, so I get up to like 3 books a lot, oftentimes, because you can check out, I think, 10 books, and I usually end up getting like 3 or 4 books at the most. And sometimes, and lately, unless they're YA reads, because I get through YA pretty quickly. Unless they're YA, it's going to take me a long time to read them. So, and right now, my current ones, in some of the books I actually, that I read this month were long. Except for one of them. One of them wasn't that long. And out of the library books anyway. Okay, so first I will tell you about the library books I borrowed that I read this month. One of them was The Alienist by Caleb Carr. This is actually going to be a TV series on TNT next year. I'm assuming January. I don't know though. It never says what month it's gonna start on the commercials, but I'm assuming January because it's kind of a winter type storyline. It takes place, I think, in the winter time. So it will make sense that they have it around January. I could be wrong, but it makes the most sense to me. I gave that one. I gave it 5 stars. I mean, the only problem I really had with the book was that the narrator kind of, not exactly, I have mixed feelings about it. Like, the narrator kind of stepped out of the story for a moment and told the reader, next year this will be different, or this will happen in history, this will happen next year. It was historical fiction, So it's basically about, there's this murder going on where all these boy prostitutes that are dressing up like girls are being murdered. And of course that is like, at the time it was like 1896 or 95, just before the turn of the century. And people of course were like, oh, that's a sin, that's so immoral. Why should we care about those boys? I mean, they're doing something horribly disgusting. And even today, I'm sure there are people that are still would be disgusted at, or at least be disturbed by the idea of these boys dressing up. I mean, that's the whole, like, that's why I think there's such a political battle about the whole gay rights and everything. Because unfortunately, there are still people today that have a problem with that. But I'm not going to get into a political discussion about that. But, and President Theodore Roosevelt, he, I guess, was the police commissioner in New York. I don't know if that's 100% true, historically accurate, but he's the police commissioner, and he is getting, like, fed up with all this. He wants this murderer taken care of. He wants him behind bars or dead. So he goes to this guy who is known as an alienist, which are basically people who deal with, like, criminals that might potentially be mentally unstable. They might be actually insane. They flesh out if the criminal who committed the crime is actually insane or not. So he goes to this guy, Dr. Now that I no longer have them in my possession, I don't remember the name. Dr. Kurlich. I know it was a K word. Dr. something. Kerzler. That's what, I think it was Kerzler. He goes to Dr. Kerzler. If I'm not right, someone can tell me, but that's what I'm gonna call him for now. I'm gonna call him Dr. Kerzler. He goes to him and he's like, I want you to get a team together and solve this murder. And this is a very, Sherlockian type mystery. Like, they go through, Dr. Kerzler hires this guy. He gets one of his friends, our narrator, who is a criminal journalist, he's not a doctor, John Moore. John Moore, who I think in the show is going to be played by Luke Evans, who is the same guy who played Bard in The Hobbit. I can't remember what the second, Desolation of Smaug, the second movie, and he played in Girl on the Train. He was the husband of the murdered woman in that story. I'm trying to think what else he's done. Well, anyway, so he hires him, and these two brothers who happen to be Jewish, who are like detective sergeants, but no one takes them seriously at the precinct because they are Jewish. And then there's Sarah Howard, she's currently a secretary, but she wants to be the first female detective. But again, another person who isn't taken seriously because she's a woman. And I think that's it. I think that's all of them that I said. So they all try to investigate through, examining the crime scene. Once they figure out who the potential murderer is, they kind of look into his background. Like I said, it's a very Sherlockian approach to the case. So that's all I'm gonna say. Like I said, I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was really excellent. It was a good story. Definitely, I wanted to keep reading. It was just because it was so long, but I still was very even if I'm really interested in a book, if it's really long, especially if there's pressure to return it to wherever I got it, then it's gonna be. That's why I was not a big fan of why I didn't like going to the library. I mean, besides the fact that the library was in driving distance and I can't drive which is part of my disabilities. I don't like the pressure to have to return the book. I mean, I know you can check out a book. And luckily, I've noticed in this library, I think I won't have really a problem of people wanting to borrow the books I check out because I'm a different, like, this, as I've said multiple times before, this is a retirement community, and there's some up-and-coming families with little kids, so I'm kind of part of that group of people that I don't think I would have to worry about people wanting to check out the books I want to check out. Because, like, I get a lot of YA reads, and then I read a lot of the classics. Like, two of the books one of the books I've checked out recently that I read this month is a classic. And I think a lot of older people like mysteries because, it's a fun little adventure and it's quick, easy read. I think, like, those are the only things I can come up with why older people like mysteries, but I think a lot of older people do. I mean, they have a huge collection of mysteries. And then they have a lot of the generic authors like Danielle Steel. I can't even think of their names, but a lot of male authors that I've heard of, but I just have no interest in their books. They do have some Dan Brown and a few Stephen King. The Stephen King collection isn't that big. But I'm my age group, like, I don't have any kids, even though I'm close to 30, because, I don't even have a boyfriend. I've only had one boyfriend. So, I don't have I don't have the kids, so I'm not getting kids' books. I'm not an old retiree so I'm like very in the middle, in between those two groups. Okay, so I've rambled enough. Okay, so that, I really like that, and like I said, my only thing I have mixed feelings about was how the narrator, John Moore, would kind of go out of the story for a second and be like, okay, this is gonna happen next year, and this is gonna change, and stuff like that. I did like how they had President Roosevelt in there. I thought that was kind of cool that his first, I'm sure it's probably true. They had he was a character in the story. I don't know how accurate they were to his personality, but although I'm sure there's plenty of research Cal Carr could have done to get close to how Theodore Roosevelt actually was. But I think that was kind of cool too. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so the next library book I got was Roar, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to read that one. So I saw it there, and I was like, okay, I have to read this book. And I just found out that the next book is called Rage, and it will be coming out soon, I believe. Or at least it has a cover and a title, obviously. I gave that one 5 stars. I thought that was really good. I like the whole idea of storm magic. I thought that was a cool concept. It was a little different. And of course, like I said, I like romance in my plots. I'm just not I don't read romance novels unless it's like, I'll read the classic romance novels. Although I know this is blasphemous, but I wasn't as into the 2 Jane Austen books I read. I mean, I enjoyed Pride and Prejudice. And but I prefer it over Sense and Sensibility, which is the other one I read, but I've only read 2, so you never know, I might like some of their other ones. I mean, I've seen the mini-series versions, or the movies, which I kind of prefer. When it comes to romantic comedies, I would rather read them, but I have made exceptions. Let's see, I don't have it here. I read The Rosie Project, which I don't know if I read that in September or if I read that back in August. But that was cute. That was a rom-com about this guy who had autism, or Asperger's, and he didn't realize it, and he was trying to find the perfect wife. and there was this whole criteria he had, and then he meets this woman Rosie who's does not fit the criteria at all, but then he kind of gets mixed up with her because she wants someone to help her find her biological father. So she needs to do a DNA search, and he's that kind of scientist professor. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, genetics, a genetics professor, so he helps her with a DNA test, and he starts to fall for her. But with the way Asperger's people think, they're not, like, they're very logical thinkers. They're kind of like, in fangirl terms, they're kind of like, what, I can't remember what his race was, but what Spock was. You know, or like a, android, and how they are when it comes to emotions and logical thinking. So that was cute. But that was also one of the books that I got from my they used to be our neighbors, but now they still live here where we live, but in a different little neighborhood because we live in a community. But they've become good friends, and they're like second grandparents to me, and he gave me a whole bunch of books, and that was one of the books of his that I read, and I donated to the library after I read it. But anyway, okay, this is basically, Roar is basically about this girl who she comes from a family of Stormlings, a royal family of Stormlings who have these powers to fight storms, but for some reason she has shown no power to fight the storms. So her mother, wanting to protect her and hide her secret, she arranges for her to marry someone from a neighboring kingdom, who also has the Stormling magic. Like, all the royals have the Stormling magic. And at first she doesn't like it, but then she kind of starts to be charmed by the guy, but then of course realizes that he's still not that. He's kind of a douchebag, and she runs away, and she gets to this, she runs away from home because she doesn't want to marry this guy, and she's afraid that he'll steal her kingdom once he finds out, and her throne once he finds out that she doesn't have any magical powers. So she discovers this group of people that have no magical powers. I mean, there's some witches among the group that hunt storms, and she joins their little band under her disguise and calls herself Roar. Her name is Aurora, so she shortens her name to Roar, and she kind of joins this band of people that hunt and fight storms. And that's all I'm going to tell you. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, I liked the whole idea of the storm magic. I thought that was cool. That was very different. Unfortunately for me, if I tried that, I would eventually change my mind later and be like, oh, that's stupid. But that would just be how I would be thinking in the moment. I don't think it's stupid. I think it's an awesome idea, and the concept, it's just, I'm more, like, very insecure and question every little idea I come up with the first story, because I do want to be an author someday. It's just that I have trouble focusing, and I change my mind constantly when I write. But I think it's really cool. There's romance in it, which I really like. I like romance in my plots, in my fantasy plots. I like romance. I just don't like reading straight up romance. Except for, again, I like reading the classics. Like, Gone with the Wind is one of my favorites. And there is a hint of a love triangle, or you think there's going to be a love triangle, but it's quite clear who she picks, who she's going to stay with. And the other guy practically doesn't stand a chance. I mean, he's a douche, and he's kind of a jerk. So I know that some people do not like triangles and love triangles. I know that my best friend Terry refuses to read love triangles. Like, I tried to warn her that A Court of Thorns and Roses has a love triangle, because I've been trying to get her to read that series, but unfortunately, that was a mistake because now she's in a reading slump and it's taking her forever to read it. But I was trying to, my intention was, okay, warn her ahead of time and let her know how great the character that Freya, the guy that Freya ends up with, is great. How, you're gonna fall in love with him. You're gonna develop this huge, massive crush on him because what in her experience, part of the reason why she hates love triangles so much is because the girl usually chooses the guy that she does not like, and she wants the girl to choose the guy that she is totally in love with herself. And which is, I get that. I mean, but personally for me, it doesn't stop me from reading a book if it has a love triangle, or if, reading a book or viewing a TV show if it has a love triangle and she ends up with a guy that I don't like. Because, a lot of times I end up changing my mind anyway. Sorry, I just had a thought, because I watched someone's 25 Bookish Facts. I watched a whole bunch of those before I went to bed, and she was, one of them, I can't remember what her name is, Olive something. She said that she's from the East Coast, and those of us on the East Coast talk really fast, so I'm wondering if I do that. Because I am originally from the East Coast. I'm currently living down south right now. That's where we moved. We moved to North Carolina. And they definitely are a lot slower. And a lot of times I have to repeat myself. But that's also because I can't speak 100% clearly. And then enunciate my words. And when I get shy or I'm uncertain if I really want to say something, then I speak a little quieter. Okay, so let me stop getting on tangents. Okay, so that was, like I said, I gave Roar 5 stars. I thought that was really great, and I can't wait to read the next one, but I don't know when I'll read it, because I don't know when it's going to come to the library or not. It might be like a year after it comes out, because if I don't have the first one, then I don't want to buy the next one when I don't have the first one. Although, I did recently break that rule when I bought The Magician's Land, because I've never read the first two, but I have been wanting to read that trilogy, so I figured, I better buy it here, because the used bookstore, the most expensive book is $5. So, okay, so let me get on to the next set of books. Okay, so, next I read Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. I'm not going to sum up what this book is about, because I'm sure everybody knows what this book is about. I've been wanting to read the classics, so I've been going through all the classics. I gave this one 3 stars, because I don't know, sometimes the children's classics, the writing style bugs me. I know some people like it, but to me, sometimes I don't like it, and the character Peter kind of got on my nerves sometimes. But I understood that he, of course... Pause. Okay. Sorry about that. This is actually a book that I want to give to my nephews when they get old enough. One of them is only 2 years old, and the other one is only a few months old, so they can't read it right now, but I definitely want to give it to them when they are old enough. But this, of course, but I did enjoy it. Even though I gave it 3 stars, I did like it. This is my second time reading it. So I thought this was really cool. I would almost rather watch the Disney movie or watch the movie Hook, or watch any other versions of Peter Pan on the screen. It'd be cool to see the play, though, but I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to. But it would be very cool to see the original play. Well, not the original. It would never be the original, but see the play version of this. I might have seen it once, like in a high school production, but I don't remember. So, like I said, I gave that one 3 stars. Okay. Let's see. So next, I read Catcher in the Rye, by J.D. Salinger. This is basically about Holden Caulfield, this kid who he just got kicked out of another school. And he decides to take a trip up to New York because he doesn't want to stick around his school. And it's basically him providing commentary on his life, his peers. He goes through all these experiences while in New York, like he goes to this little dive place and tries to dance with a bunch of older women. He's only like 17, and he almost sleeps with a prostitute. He talks about his family, his brothers in Hollywood, and how he doesn't really think it's a good, he doesn't approve of his brother being in Hollywood because Hollywood is full of phonies. He uses that word a lot. He doesn't like, people that are fake, essentially, or that seem fake to him. He also says the word goddamn a lot, which drove me crazy. I mean, he annoyed the crap out of me. And I guess it was because he was so immature. And so I gave this 3 stars. I thought it was okay. I liked his relationship with his sister Phoebe, his younger sister, because normally older siblings can't stand the younger siblings. Trust me, I'm talking from experience. But I also probably was incredibly annoying when I was younger. And I still have my very immature moments. But I like that, so I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was okay, and I understand the reason why people read it in high school, because people can relate to Holden's maturity level and his feelings and stuff. But and maybe that's because I'm older, and I'm almost 30, and I maybe have a level of immaturity, but I'm not this immature. Okay, so next I read another book that was kind of similar to Catcher in the Rye. In a sense, it was about a bunch of teenage 17-year-old boys in school. But it's right before it was right around World War II. It's about this kid, Gene, he's very smart, he's very, into education. He's kind of today's version of a nerd. And then he has his friend, Phineas, he calls him Finny. He's very cool and laid back and easygoing. He's the athlete. He's not very good at school. And then, Finny almost, Gene kind of thinks that Finny is jealous of him and is trying to prevent him from getting his education, being smarter than him. So Gene has this moment where he, okay, well, first in the book, there's a special tree that they like to jump off of and go into this lake. And they're currently doing that. One of their friends is actually going to jump off the tree branch because normally he's too scared to do it. So the friend is like, I'm finally going to do it. So Phineas is all like, we're going to go watch this guy jump off the tree. And then Finny and Gene go up on the branch first and decide to jump, and Finny suggests they jump together. But Gene has this momentary moment of this weak moment, this angry moment, and he jostles the tree branch, and the two fall, and Vinny falls off the branch and breaks his leg, so he can no longer play sports. And Gene feels horribly guilty about that, and it's basically about Gene dealing with his guilt and feeling obligated to take care of Finny, and them being in school, and the war and World War II coming on, and all their friends thinking about enlisting in the war, and Gene's not sure about it, and Finny is in denial about the war happening. He doesn't believe it's happening. So I thought this book was okay. This one I also gave 3 stars. I thought it was a very interesting read. Unfortunately, I feel like you can't really relate to this book. You might relate to the concepts of friendship in Gene and Phineas' feelings towards each other and feelings about what they're passionate about. But I couldn't really relate to it. Being, first of all, I'm not a boy, and I'm not into sports. and I'm not during a time, although there is kind of a war going on right now, but I thought it was an interesting read. I thought it was okay. I didn't, you know, so I gave it 3 stars. Okay, so next one, the next book I finished was The Dream Thieves, the second book in the Raven Cycle Quartet. I'm waiting on reading the third book, Blue Lily, Lily Blue, because I do not have the last book, and I don't know when I'll get the last book. It's on my Christmas list though. So this was basically, like I said, it's the second book in this series. I don't know if I should tell you what it's about or not, because it's the second book. But basically, these 4 boys and this girl are trying to search for this special king, this long dead king, Glendower. Whoever wakes him up, he'll grant them a wish. And one of their member, Rowan, who's kind of like the troublemaker of the group, he has the ability to take things out of dreams and bring them into the real world. That's all I'll say. I really enjoyed this. I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was really good. I thought the first one was just a little bit better. Don't ask me why. I'm weird about that. I have trouble pinpointing exactly why I think one is better than the other. So people probably say, why don't you give it 5 stars then? But I do still feel like the Raven Boys was better. But I did think this one was really cool. I think what I love is the atmosphere that Maggie Stiefvater creates, and I like the individual characters that have real personalities that she creates. And the whole concept of this kid being able to pull things out of dreams was really interesting. I thought that was really cool. Now, like I said, I don't know if I'll read her Shiver series, or Woes, Mercy Falls. I do not know what it's called. But I did really enjoy this book. I thought this was really fun. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so on to the books that I'm currently reading that I did read in September. I was reading It, which I started a while back. That's why I'm as far as I was. I'm rereading It. I think I probably started I knew that I wanted to reread it, but I think what motivated me to reread it for the second time was because I had heard that there was a movie being made. Okay, this video is getting too long, so I might just make the October reads another video. So basically it's about 7 kids who are fighting this evil entity that has haunted their town for years. And one of his forms is the clown Pennywise, and that's how he lures children. He basically eats the children. But no, he's not human. He is fear itself. For some weird reason, I mean, maybe because the actor is attractive, but people are starting to they either want Pennywise to be gay, or they want to have sex with him themselves, or the girls want to have sex with him, which I do not get. With all that makeup, he does not look attractive. I mean, the actor, I agree that the actor is very attractive, and I crush on him and everything. But no, the clown isn't even human. He's fear itself. It's that whole concept is that people wanting that is just disturbing to me, and I draw the line there. But anyway, this so far is really good the second time around. So before this video gets too long, I'll stop there. I'll probably end up giving it 5 stars. Okay, I also started reading, East of Eden, because I heard Words of a Reader constantly talks about that. It was one of her favorites, and I've been wanting to read it, but my mom has suggested I get it from the library, so I got it from the library. I haven't got very far in it. I've just got about to chapter 7. I'm in the middle of chapter 7, but there's a page break, so. And I'm also reading The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I saw this one there, and I've been wanting to read it and check it out. And so far, I'm really enjoying this too. And again, I haven't gotten very far because I'm trying to focus on The Dark Half, which is the next book I got from the library. Where is it? I do not know where it is. Here it is. The Dark Half, which I'm almost done with it. I'm gonna read some more of it today before I go to work. It's a Stephen King thriller. It's basically about this writer who he created this alter ego for himself, George Stark, and George Stark has become like somehow he's alive and he's murdering people, and he wants Thad Beaumont, that his original creator, to write another book and bring him back to life because he has decided to retire George Stark, and George doesn't want to die, and that's basically what this is about. It's good and everything. It's not my favorite that I've read so far of Stephen King. I'll probably give it 4 stars when I'm done with it. And I'm not a huge thriller fan anyway. Okay, so that's what, okay, so I just realized that this video might be too long, and I haven't even got to my October TBR, so I know I said that I would be talking about my October TBR, or the reads that I want to read that I might read in October, but I think I'm going to have to make another video because this one is getting way too long. So, I hope you enjoyed my September reads, and I will see you guys later in my next video. Alright, bye.